Hello and welcome back for another Football Manager 2019 experiment, one which today we're calling League of Legends. Now, not to be confused with the other game by the same name, League of Legends, which I gather is some sort of MMO, something like that. I don't know too much about it. This is just a sort of take on the name, really. So what we've done in this this episode, is we've taken every team, removed their managers, barring two, which we'll get onto in a minute, and replaced them, their managers, with basically famous players. Now, some of these had to be created into the game, some of them are already in the game and just making their way in the managerial world or coaching world in some cases. So yes, some were already coaches at other clubs, some were already managers at other clubs that just started. I tried to do that as much as possible, but I did have to create one or two because there were some clubs I did struggle with, and we'll go into those now. So we are at Bournemouth. We've had to keep as Eddie Howe because he's the quintessential Bournemouth player, played for them for a good few years and went on to manage them. And there isn't really, that I couldn't think of. If someone in the comments, let me know below. But I've Google searched everything trying to find sort of, players. I'm pretty sure there was a striker that was with them quite regularly through the lower leagues, but I couldn't remember his name. And I thought he was maybe on the coaching staff, but I'm not too sure. The other one is Brighton, two Bs. It's Chris Hughton. Again, couldn't find anyone that was particularly famous and playing for them for a long time and was just sort of making their way, or was a pundit or something like that. So yeah, we've kept them in. So it'll actually be interesting to see if those more established two managers of possibly less more established teams can overthrow the new kids on the block, if you like. So what we'll do, we'll go through each club and see who we've picked. There was a few choices for some of them, and some of them sort of conflicted as well. Some of them had a couple of choices. So we'll just see who we've gone with. So first of all, my team, Arsenal. So I just clicked on Arsenal from the last point we just did the cut from, and I had the actual wrong save loaded up. So it showed Unai Emery as the manager and everyone else as the correct managers as the game. Of course it did. So I've gone through, I've loaded up now, but we've come back to this screen, which is my default experiment player, Max Romero. Obviously was my legend last year at Shakhtar. We've made him so he's never going to get a job, but he's just who I use to sort of sim through the games. So obviously I've simmed through to the end of the season. I haven't got an intro episode, unfortunately. I did just overwrite that with the 1 year on, so we're going to just reel through who we've picked and the choices we could have had. Let me know if you think you would have gone for something slightly different, or if I've picked the right ones, if you spot your team, or just in general. So for Arsenal, my choices were Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira and Mikel Arteta. I went with Thierry Henry, obviously current Monaco manager. For Bournemouth, like I said, we kept Eddie Howe. Brighton, we kept Chris Hughton. Burnley, we had a choice of Michael Duff, Graham Alexander and Joey Barton. I went with Michael Duff purely for being a CM0102, absolute legend. Amazing right back, and had a spell at Burnley as well. We could also use, I think, possibly Graham Alexander and definitely Joey Barton at other options as well. I can't remember if I did. We'll go down. I've got a list here we're reading off. Cardiff, we've gone with Craig Bellamy. Chelsea, we had a choice of Frank Lampard, John Terry or Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. We've gone with John Terry, obviously current Aston Villa coach or assistant manager. At Crystal Palace, we had Gareth Southgate and Dougie Freedman. We've gone Gareth Southgate because I think Dougie Freedman's been around a bit longer, and he has managed, I think, Crystal Palace. Certainly Forest he played for, he managed them. Everton, we went with Mikel Arteta. Fulham, we had Scott Parker. I think he's a coach there. Quite a few of my saves I do. He actually gets promoted in the second season to Fulham manager, so it's not a great leap there. For Huddersfield, again, slim pickings, but we had a choice of Danny Cadamarteri and Frank Sinclair. We've gone for Danny Cadamarteri. Leicester, we had Emil Heskey and Neil Lennon. You've gone with Emil Heskey. Liverpool, Steven Gerrard. Even if there was other choices, which there probably is, it's Steven Gerrard. Man City, we've gone with a choice of Paul Dickov, Patrick Vieira, Nicholas Anelka and Joey Barton. We could have gone Patrick Vieira, but we've gone straight in for Nicholas Anelka. Vieira obviously was at New York City for a little while and was the possible natural successor, but he's now at Nice, so that's kind of moved on. Joey Barton was obviously an option former player there, but we've gone for Nicholas Anelka. I think he was in Chelsea, in China or Saudi Arabia or somewhere. So we pop in Man City. Man United, it has to be Ryan Giggs. Didn't even think beyond that. Newcastle, we had a good few here. We had Alan Shearer, Lee Bowyer and Kevin Nolan, but we've gone with Tamuri Ketsbaia, the current Georgia manager. I don't know if he's still in charge of Georgia or not. I'm not too sure. Southampton, Matt Letitia. I think we had to create him. He may have been in there in the database, but possibly as like a retired player or something. So I think he might pop up on comments for Southampton on news stories and press conferences and stuff. Tottenham, we had a choice of Sol Campbell, Teddy Sheringham and Jurgen Klinsmann. We've gone with Sol Campbell. Obviously a lot in the press every now and then about him not being able to get jobs and stuff like that. So he's got his chance back at Tottenham. They might not be too happy about that. He is known as Judas there, but he started his career there and we pop him back. Watford, we've got John Barnes and Luther Blissett. John Barnes I would have had to create because again he was a retired profile. Luther Blissett was in there and could easily just be transferred over. It was just to make my life a bit easier really, doing a lot of editing and editor work at work on the sly. West Ham, we've got Joe Cole, Frank Lampard and Kevin Nolan. Obviously Frank Lampard's now at Derby, so we just kept him there. We've gone with Kevin Nolan. I don't really know why. I guess because I'm not sure why we went with him and not Frank Lampard. And then Wolves, it was Kevin Muscat. We'll have a look at the end of the season. We'll go see it, have a look at all their profiles and stuff. But the thing we're going to kind of look at as we go through is, who's still in the job, transfers each of them made, how the league finished, any European competitions the clubs in particular were involved in. So looking at Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Burnley, and Tottenham. I think that's the European teams this year. So we'll look at the Europa League and the Champions League, and we're going to go through. We'll see who's kept their job, that sort of thing. If you do want to see a follow-up episode, well, we'll talk about it at the end, but there is a scope. I do have obviously all the save files. I can just skip forward another 1, 2 or 3 years beyond. So drop down in the comments now. Who do you think's going to win the league? Are any of the new boys going to steal it, as they're having the better squads going to prove it, or is someone like Eddie Howe and Chris Hughton, who are more established actual managers, going to be able to do it? I guess there's no better way to check them to go to the Premier League right now. I mean, it says holders Man City. I'm pretty sure they have actually won it, because I think I'm in 15th of June now. It should have ticked over to the new holders, and they have. Man City have won it, level on points with Liverpool, and the top 5 really don't look that out of shape, do they? I mean, Arsenal obviously have snuck back in, but it's very close, all in the 80s. A lot of games lost, a lot of games drawn. Some good goal differences in there. Tottenham get through in 5th. Bournemouth, Eddie Howe doing really well into 6th position. Wolves as high as 7th. Everton getting the cup as well. They must have won a cup. We'll have a look at the cups as well. Chelsea down in 9th, but do get in the Champions League. Does that mean they've won the Champions League? I think it must do for them to be in it. Southampton, sort of mid-table. Newcastle, Brighton, probably would take that in reality this season. A good 12th position. As we keep going down. Cardiff, but in 18th position and only 2 points off the drop, really surviving the drop. Watford, and the only team that were really sort of cast adrift really were West Ham. They only got 6 wins all season. They actually beat Liverpool in there. A lot of it was the teams around them, so they did well. Aubameyang, we'll have a look at players actually. We'll see who managed to get the best out of their players. Goals, Aubameyang on 23, Harry Kane on 22, Lacazette on 19, so a good lot of goals there for Arsenal there amongst them. Willian Jose for Tottenham, I think, is a signing. 17. Firmino for Liverpool. Rodrigo for Man City, he's definitely a signing. Is he the left midfielder for Spain one? Yeah, he is. Or striker left midfielder. He did well. And then Jamie Vardy for Leicester. If we go to, I think this is how we do it. Yeah, there we go. So we don't really want to worry about appearances, that sort of stuff. Players of the match, Sanchez up there for United. Aubameyang, Kane, Salah. A lot of the goal scorers in there, obviously. We've got goals. We've had goals. Average minutes per goal. Rodrigo's up there. Lacazette, Aubameyang, Jose. We've got assists. Tom Kenny for Fulham tops that, with Mesut Ozil just behind. You'd expect to see him in the top 3, wouldn't you? Lucas Moura for Tottenham, Salah, Hazard, Sane. Goodmanson for Burnley as well. And then we've got key passes, Ozil at the top, chance created, Ozil at the top, of course. 23 for Alisson for Liverpool, Cech 2nd for Arsenal, Lloris 3rd, and Ederson 4th. Clean sheets, Alisson, Ederson, Lloris, De Gea, Peter Cech. Yeah, interesting there. So we'll go back to the league table, and what else do we need to look at here? We're going to go through each club and just see what transfers they made and if they're still at the club. So Man City, I'm going to imagine they've probably still got the same manager. Nicolas Nelka is still there. He's got a National C licence and he's won the Premier League. Not bad for him, for Ola Salk there. We also know he signed Rodrigo. Who else did he sign? Mahrez was obviously a pre-agreed deal. Rodrigo comes in for 31, rises to 53. Miguel Almiron, 4.6 to 6.25. He's a very good player on this game. I didn't sign him last year. I had the opportunity. I signed his mate Barco instead. And then Savic for 60 million from Lazio straight out. They did sell 22 million pounds worth of talent as well. Danilo went to China in the January. Mangala was one that's already done. And that was it really. That was a couple of loans out, but nothing really that jumps out. Zinchenko seems to go out quite regularly. So that's Man City covered. So we jump to Liverpool. I'd imagine most of these top ones are still here. So Steven Gerrard is still there. Who did he bring in and let go? So Alisson was already agreed. Fabinho was already agreed. Keita was already agreed. Regani from Juventus for 45 million, rising to 63. Donny van de Beek from Ajax for 36, rising to nearly 50. And Wilmar Barrios from Boca Juniors for, well, nigh on 15 million. Now they did make a hell of a lot of money, but they signed 243 million pounds worth of players. They sold Daniel Sturridge to Arsenal for 43, life rising to 72. I mean, how did he do? He didn't do too badly, really. Shaqiri went to Torino for 15 million. Markovic, young players, that sort of thing. Wijnaldum went out on loan. Solanke went out on loan, but 58 million brought back in. So still a large swing on the money, but yeah, they brought some back in. Man United. Now I assume Giggsy is still there. He is. They gave it to Giggsy till the end of the season. Transfer history. So Fred was agreed. They brought Lozano in. That's a good bit of business there. Oh my god. Dybala for 141 million pounds. And he didn't do amazing. Did he come in the January? He came in the January, so he only played 11 games still. And Kieran Tierney as well for 43 million. They spent 224 on 4 players. That's absolutely insane. They brought in 43 million pounds. They sold Fellaini to Shakhtar, Lingard to Chelsea. I've seen him go to Arsenal quite a few times. Darmian to Lazio, and then nothing else really of note. Anyone big going on loan? Matic went to Bayer Leverkusen on loan. Rojo to Lyon on loan. McTominay to Porto, and Pereira to Wolves. Another Portuguese player, I think, that is going to Wolves. Arsenal do still have Henry. He had, again, another one with a very good season, finishing 4th in the Premier League. That's better than they've done in the last couple of years, and possibly looks like after this. I mean, as I'm recording this, Arsenal just drawn with Wolves, and we're probably quite lucky to get a draw with Wolves. Probably going to do better than what Arsenal are going to do this season. I think 4th would be a good season, but might be a stretch. So Socrates was agreed. Down here, yeah, so Daniel Sturridge we know about, we saw that. Pavon in from Boca for 30 million. Chan from Juventus. I see him go to United quite a lot. Fazio from Roma, and Thorgan Hazard. So the 2 Hazard brothers are now in England, assuming Eden is still there. I think he was based on the stats we saw in the player stats. And then they sold. Obviously, this one's interesting to me because obviously I managing Arsenal in my beta, transitioning into the full game. I sold Mustafi to Bayern as well, and probably got a bit more than that up front, I think. And then he went to Lyon. I'm about to sell him. I can't pronounce him either. That's part of the reason I'm selling him. And Bowler's gone to Cheltenham. I've kept him around. Guendouzi went out on loan. I did the same. Rob Holding was very much a stalwart for me in the first season, but he'd gone on loan to Sporting Lisbon. Xhaka on loan to Leicester. Smith Rowe to Brentford. I loaned him to Preston, I think. Nketiah I kept around. Mavropanos I kept around. Maitland-Niles was a very big player for me. I kept him around. And Joe Willock I kept around as well. So very different, but 214 spent, 44.5 million recouped. So Tottenham are right behind. Sol Campbell is still there. It's going to be interesting to see at what point the managers aren't there now, whether that's because they get poached by someone else or get sacked is obviously up to see. But Llorente was agreed. Diego Lopez I think was agreed, it must have been. So William Jose came in from Real Sociedad. I haven't obviously done the Spanish fix yet by the looks of it. Januzaj came in from Sociedad as well, so they raided Sociedad. This looks like a young player from Barcelona. He's not that young, I don't know him, but he comes in for a decent amount of... Oh, he's a loan, okay. They Artur from Bournemouth, bizarrely. I guess they've had enough of the who's the guy that was at Swansea, the goalkeeper? He's absolutely awful this season. He's deputising. I can't remember his name. We'll probably see. Yeah, Michael Vaughan. There he is. He's gone out. Pavlenka to Werder Bremen as well comes in 43.5. So they obviously didn't spend anything in reality in this summer, but they've spent 43 in this version. They've sold because, well, they've actually got 6.5. They've done pretty good on the balance sheet actually. Sissoko goes to Fiorentina for 9 million. Vincent Janssen, they managed to get rid of him, and actually someone to pay money for him. Gazaniga, they've got money for him as well. Michael Vaughan, Diego Lopez. Hang on, he came in and went out. Okay, Sol Campbell obviously didn't like the look of him, and then the rest of it was sort of frees and loans. Anyone big? Not. Oh, Wanyama went to Milan on loan, and Kudu to Nice on loan. But that's about it. Now Bournemouth, Eddie Howe is still there, so one of the regulars has survived. I can see there straight away. It looks like they've either signed or about to sign Nacho Monreal. I don't think it's happened yet. Oh no, we want to get a fee there. So John Ruddy signs from Wolves. David Brooks from Sheffield United. That was agreed. So those were both agreed. Oh no, David Brooks was, but John Ruddy wasn't. I had Brooks on loan. I tried to sign him, but they wanted too much money. He did really well for me. Why is it not? There we go. They signed Lerma from Levante. I think that's already agreed. 27 million. Is that reality? Have they spent that much money on a player? Strange. And Schelotto from Brighton on loan, and Abate on loan from Milan is a very good signing as well. On the outs, who's going to be the first one as well to get more money in than they sold and they signed? So far, not Bournemouth. They've sold Rico to Kiev, Mark Pugh to Burnley, Artur to Tottenham, we saw a minute ago. Charlie Seaman, I don't know if he's related to David Seaman. Wolves do still have Kevin Muscat, he's still there. He came in from Australia. I think he's got some job in Australia. I don't think he's a manager, I might be wrong. But pretty sure he's not. Wow, a lot of businesses. Traore even was agreed. I think Bowley was agreed already as well. They signed Jetro Williams from Eintracht Frankfurt. I think he was at PSV a few years ago on a few FMs. He was really good on a few FM ago. FM 16, 17 maybe. Jan Moutinho was agreed. Bonatini I think was agreed. Insua, former Liverpool player, signs from Stuttgart. Cabral, another one that can speak Portuguese obviously. He's Argentinian, so does he speak Spanish I think actually? No, yeah, never mind. Cabral from Vigo. Samaris from Benfica. And then a few other. Yota was agreed. Patricio was agreed, obviously, of course. Yoni was agreed as well. Then Donka. I think a lot of these were already in. And then it's Pereira, we obviously saw in the Man United bit earlier. In terms of outs, 11 million for Benicavoga at State was agreed. John Ruddy, I think we saw. Joe Mason left for Ipswich. Sherwin Seedorf, is he related to Clarence? Not too sure. Vinagre we loaned at Arsenal. Did okay, not really. And nothing else really to mention there for Wolves. Everton do still have Mikel Arteta as well, as we still haven't seen a sacking, which is absolutely crazy. There's going to be some. I've seen some insecure jobs when I clicked on the save at the start. So obviously Richarlison we know about. Mina I think we knew about. Yeah, Digne, Bernard, Andre Gomez. So Maitland-Niles on loan we didn't, and Serge Gnabry on loan. I think that happened on my Arsenal save as well. I think they loaned him. Someone in the Premier League loaned him. So they haven't really done any additional business. They've only sold 1.5 worth players. Phil Jagiel to FC Dallas. I think that might have already been agreed. So nothing new particularly. No. Calvert-Lewin goes on loan to Wigan. McCarthy to Leverkusen, which is interesting. John Joe Kenny to Leeds. Yeah, no, nothing to write home about there with Everton particularly. Chelsea down in 9th. They've got to be a possibility for. They have sacked their manager. They've got Diego Simeone. So at what point did they sack? It was John Terry, wasn't it? So John Terry, 25th of June, got sacked in the April. He won a cup. He won the Community Shield. Okay, so he was replaced by Zola for. Okay, so till the end of the season, Zola replaced him. He was the assistant, I think, there, or coach there. He replaced him till the end of the season, and then Diego Simeone come in, and he won the European Cup. So he came in right at the end of the season, but still won the European Cup. That's crazy. They beat Villarreal in the final. Is he going to let me look at it? It is. Morata and Kovacic getting the goals. Wow, okay, fair play. So let's see what transfers Chelsea made. Kepa was agreed already. Romagnoli comes in. That's at the end of the season, though, to be fair, so that's not really affected. He wouldn't have played. Jorginho's agreed. They signed from Ajax, 30 million, 43. I could never pronounce his name right. Lingard we saw earlier. Vilhena from Feyenoord, again, another one that was quite good on a few FMs ago. Emerson from Roma. He used to always go to Chelsea. I think I've done a few saves on this game and he's gone there. Or a few experiments I've noticed him going as well. And Kovacic was already agreed. In terms of the outs, Gary Cahill's gone to Leicester. Caballero's gone to Zenit. Piazon has gone to Vasco da Gama, I assume that is. I did the Brazil fix. Why has it not worked? I know I did the Brazil one. And then Ginkel's going on loan to Shakhtar Donetsk. Loftus-Cheek to Augsburg. Drinkwater to Burnley. So, bit of a stuttering season there, despite the fact they won 2 cups and started brightly with the Community Shield. But we'll go back and look at all those in due course. So, the halfway point is Southampton. Obviously was Letitia. He is still there. They were happy with 10th place finish from him. Assistant manager Mark Hughes. I don't know how that's happened. Did I mischange that when I made Letitia? Did it just drop him down maybe? So he still had a bit of an influence there as an assistant manager. So they brought in. That's agreed. Mailer in January. Don't know much about him from Genk. Jorrit Hendricks and PSV. I don't think, is that a real? I think that might be one that's already happened in reality, actually, possibly. Danny Ings from Liverpool on loan is already agreed. Carlos Sanchez agreed, and Laxalt I think is agreed as well. Out, interesting. Stuart Armstrong went to Newcastle. He's obviously a bit of a mainstay in the. Actually, was that agreed already? Is he playing for New? No, he's playing for Southampton. He's a bit of a mainstay in the Southampton team. I was watching Match of the Day. I knew I saw his name. He had a good shot or something. Shane Long went to Newcastle as well. Stephen Davis went to AZ Alkmaar. Bednarek to Huddersfield on loan. That's about it. So not a great deal of business. Again, no one. Well, I didn't spot. I wasn't looking at the last couple of teams, but again, I don't think anyone's earned less than they've spent. We do hit Newcastle now. I've seen one which I think is a bit new. A manager is Tamir Getsbayer. He is still there. The madman of Georgia. I remember him scoring that goal and just going hell for leather on the sideboards. Sideboards, the advertising hoardings. So who have they brought in? Armstrong, Muto's agreed. Veltman from Ajax, I think, is in January, 8 million. Shane Long, Federico Fernandez. Was that? Oh, maybe that was a. Do they have him in reality? I think that might be a real signing. January they got Krasnodar player Gazinski, yeah. Dubravka is a real one. Shenikov in January from CSKA Moscow. So they went very Eastern European in there. They've got a lot of Eastern Bloc players in there. Ki Sung Young is a real transfer, I know. In terms of the outs, Hosselu, Mankio, 53 million spent. Look, the fans are probably quite happy if Mike Ashley put £53 million in his pocket and only got 6 back, but obviously not the case. No one here particularly jumps out, I don't think. Mankio to Korea, I think. Hosselu to Croatia, I think. Diarme on loan to Augsburg. Atsu to Cardiff on loan. Yeah, not an amazing amount of business either way, but more than maybe perhaps Newcastle are used to in reality. Second of the original real managers, obviously Chris Hughton starts here. He's still there. And transfers, I don't know too much about Brighton. So 25th June, I think this might be a existing one. Bernardo, I think is. Andone, I think is. Martin Montoya is. So the rest of them, Boyata from Celtic is a new one, 3.4 million eventually. And the rest of them, Fabian Schär. They did loan Nketiah. Did he do anything? 4 goals in 12. Not amazing, but not bad. It's his first sort of Premier League campaign, really. 48 million spent, 3.5 in. Nothing that sticks out to me particularly. Like I say, I'm not overly familiar with the Brighton team. Basuma on loan. A lot of players out in general on loan and stuff like that, but not a lot of money out. 3.5 million. So they haven't really brought much in financially. Here we got Leicester, or for you American fans out there, Leicester. Obviously they had, they've sacked their manager. Their manager was, I think it was Emil Heskey, wasn't it? So they brought in, where do we see it? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now I've seen him in a few experiments come in and then get sacked in the same season. So he's obviously not done that here. So I look at managers. When did Heskey get sacked? Started in the June, was sacked by the November. Not so 3 games won, 2 games drawn, 6 or 8 games lost, something like that. So he only managed, what, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 games he managed, possibly plus cups. I don't know if cups are included. That might just be league. I'm not too sure. I think that's all matches, to be fair. 150 days. And then they brought in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe got them up into... I mean, he lost 10 games, drew 7, won 8, so it's a bit better. But, I mean, that probably isn't going to keep him up next season. Not too sure. But transfers, obviously we don't know. When did he come in the November? So any January transfers are going to be Solskjaer, not Heskey. Madison was agreed. Pereira on loan, I think that was agreed. Guess a lot of these were agreed already, I think. James Forrest in January, so that was obviously Solskjaer. Fagner, it was him as well. Johnny Evans, I think, is he there? I think he is. Gary Cahill was obviously kind of Solskjaer. Lucas from West Ham on loan was, Solskjaer. Xhaka on loan was Solskjaer, and then obviously Shinji Kagawa on loan as well. 110 million in, 21 out. Okazaki's out. Mendy's out. Matty James. Obviously we're getting into January, some of these now. Danny Simpson out. A lot of these, are not relevant particularly to what we're looking at. A lot of loans out as well. So not the best season for Leicester, but they ended up finishing, 13th? Something like that. So they got there in the end. Huddersfield. So with this one we went with Danny Cadamarteri, didn't we? He is still there. And we'll have a look at his transfers. I don't know why I keep going to Transfer Centre and not Transfer History. I'm starting to annoy myself actually. Congolo from Monaco, I think he's there. Yeah, he's there really. Diakabi, I signed him on like FM19, I think. He turned into an absolute, I'm sure it's him, centre midfielder. Oh, okay, it's not him. He's coming in for 9 million. Is that real one? I think it might be. Sobby is near Bitton in January from Celtic. Romulo, he was good on a couple of FMs ago. I think he played for CSK Moscow. Spartak Moscow. I do remember him. I remember him on FIFA as well. Eric Durm for free. I think that's a legit transfer because I had him in my Fantasy Premier League at the start of the season. That was a mistake. In terms of outs, 42 in, 9 out. So still we're not seeing that. No one particularly that jumps out at me. Again, not completely au fait with Huddersfield and their sort of squad. Crystal Palace, a bit more. So they got Guaita. Now, is that a legit, a real signing? Because I see that Ted Redwood Gaming is currently, well, as I'm recording this, he's reviving Ravel series. It sees him at Palace and he's got him in goal. So perhaps that's actually a real transfer. Lee Johnson is there. So they've sacked, it was Gareth Southgate. Obviously did so good at England. And he lasted 162 days, went in the start of December. How did he do? 4 games won, 2 games drawn, 9 games lost. Or 8 games lost. My eyes are terrible, I haven't got my glasses on. So, and then we had Dougie Freedman, who was obviously the other candidate. He was caretaker manager for about 2 weeks. Replaced by Lee Johnson from, I think it's Bristol City. I'm not too sure. Bristol City, Bristol Rovers, one of the two. And he ended up managing for a bit longer. He won 8, drew 4, lost 11. So a slight improvement, got them up to, 16th, 15th, 16th. So he signed 4th of January, December was when, it's only January signings again, and not going to be, I've done it again, and not going to be relevant. So they signed Alfie Mawson from Fulham in January, so that's irrelevant. Chris Wood from Burnley in January, that's irrelevant. All these, Hoof's a free transfer, so that was Gareth. Guaita, yeah, it must be a real transfer. I'm sure Hennessy still plays for them at the moment in real life, so a bit of a strange one. And Matt Phillips from West Brom on loan. I think that's a signing made by Gareth. Sacco leaves to AS Monaco for 21. This might be, the first team that I've noticed has sold more than what they brought in. Arnholt to Atalanta, Papu Suarez, CSK Moscow. Anyone else? KIOTA to Moscow on loan. Sorloth to PSV on loan, and Punchin to Sheffield United on loan. So a bit of a bizarre one there, but we've seen another, what's that? That's the third casualty, I think. Not bad, really, because, I mean, how many have gone in real life between now and... I mean, we're only in... I don't know if we've actually seen any managers sacked in Premier League, actually. I say that. I don't think anyone's actually gone yet. Correct me below if I'm wrong, and bearing in mind, I'm recording this, what are we, about the 11th, exactly the 11th of November, I remember, because it's Armistice Day. 11th of November, so if anyone happens after that, after you're watching it, ignore, it's irrelevant. We're only looking at now, so I don't think anyone's been sacked. So Burnley, we had, who did we have for Burnley? Michael Duff, legend of Championship Manager 0102, and he's gone and replaced by Manuel Pellegrini. So Michael Duff, unable to live up to his legendary status, he lasted 184 days. He got to Boxing Day. He won 10, so the best kind of so far, no draws and 11 losses. So it was all on up. In fact, that's 15 won, 0 lost. So it's a bit of a strange one to have sacked him for. I mean, they're a bit of an all or nothing team. If they don't win, they're going to lose. They're not going to get anything in the middle. And then they had 2 weeks of Tony Lachlan, replaced by Manuel Pellegrini for the rest of the season, who won 6, drew 5, and lost 11. So he lost the same amount of games, didn't win as many, and obviously chucked a few draws in there just to make that look a bit more likely. We obviously know they sold Chris Wood in January, because we saw that a minute ago. Who did they sign? They signed Ben Gibson, I think that's a real. Vidra from Derby, I think that might be real. Mark Pugh they signed, I think that's in the game. Joe Hart is legit. Chopu Moting, I don't think that's real. They signed him in January from PSG. He was a bit of a weird one to have gone to PSG in the first place, to be honest. Drinkwater on loan from Chelsea, not bad signing. Jesus Navas from Sevilla, pretty good signing there as well. The departures, we might have another. No, they signed nearly 40 million and sold 8. Chris Wood to Palace, Lindegaard to Norgeland, and then after that, Aaron Lennon went to Stuttgart on loan, and that's about it really. So the last place just before the relegation spots is Fulham. They've come up and they've stayed up. Obviously they had, who did we give here? Scott Parker. So did he survive? Staff. Scott Parker is still there. Incredible. Okay, so we'll go look at the transfers, and I've done it again. I keep doing it. So Frank, we know he's still there because I'm watching second yellow cards Fulham save, so I know a bit more of these. Mitrovic, Seri, Marchand, Joe Bryan. Okay, so Danny Simpson is new, I think. Andre Schürrle, Sergio Rico, and Vieto. So they literally didn't actually sign anyone really apart from Danny Simpson, I think, outside of the actual transfers made pre-save. £80 million spent, so a good amount of money for them. They brought in 17.5. They sold Alfie Mawson to Palace in the January. Fabrizio to West Ham in the January, obviously then went down. Kevin McDonald has gone to Brentford. Corley Woodrow to Barnsley. I think Barnsley signed him from second yellow card as well. Steven Sessegnon went to, that's the younger brother, isn't it? I think the right back. He went to Exeter on loan. Is it the right back? Yeah, it is. It's Ryan, isn't it? The main guy. So yeah, strange bit of business there for Fulham. They didn't really bolster anything, but they did spend a lot of money already, so they probably didn't have the biggest transfer kitty going. And they didn't really add in January though, which is strange. I mean, Danny Simpson was January, so here's a new one. So they sold a lot of players in January, brought a lot of money in, but didn't boost their squad. But they finished 17th, so possibly just of Cardiff, the last of the teams actually to come up. They are the only one I think that goes straight down from what I noticed. 2 came up. Yeah, it was Wolves and Fulham, so they just Cardiff to go back down. They obviously had Craig Bellamy. They still have Craig Bellamy. They've stuck with him. So good for them, but it has taken them straight back down. We're going to go to transfers, and I'm going to remember transfer history this time. Josh Murphy. I mean, there's anyone that sticks out here? Not particularly. Again, I'm not overly familiar with Cardiff's squad, but they signed this guy in January. I'm not even going to attempt to embarrass myself with that name and trying to pronounce it. Camarasa on a loan. Ronaldo Vieira in January from Sampdoria, and Atsu from Newcastle. In terms of outs, now we know They sold about 30 million, sold less than a million. Sold Bambergo's, obviously just scored the equaliser, offside equaliser against Hampton, and it caused, I think it was Charlie Austin to, I think it was the goal that caused Charlie Austin to have an absolute meltdown. Was it that game? I think it was. Gary Medine goes to Portsmouth. Again, like I said, I don't really know Cardiff that well. Junior Hoylett's gone on loan. Yeah, not much more to say for me for that really. The penultimate team is Watford. Now, a complete retrospect to how they've started the Premier League this season. They started fine. They were top for a little while. Obviously not in this reality. Manager is Carlos Calverhouse. They have sacked. We had Luther Blissett. Obviously not particularly. I don't think he's even a manager in the games. I had to make him one, so it probably wasn't there for very long. Based on this, let's go managers before we go to transfers. So interesting. Okay, Luther Blissett. He was there for 162 days. 2 games won, 7 drawn, 7 lost. 12% win record. Terrible. But Javi Gracia came in as caretaker, so I'm assuming he was assistant manager, a bit like we saw with Mark Hughes at Southampton. So he came in, 1 game won, 1 game lost. He was there for 2 weeks. Not a bad record, but he is their actual manager. So, but they didn't promote him. They went with Carlos Carvajal, who won 8, drew 4, lost 13. Not amazing. Obviously, I think took Swansea down. I think last season he gave it a good go with them. To be fair, I think he was the best manager they had most of the season from memory, but not able to do anything for Watford, unfortunately for them. Misaccio comes in from Milan in January for a big amount of money, straight in the Championship now. Delafeu, we know it was legit, was already. Tremolinas on a freeze, starts the game on a freeze, so that's them as well. So he's going to be looking for a new club, I'm sure, in the new season. In terms of outs, Prodal goes to Young Boys Bern. Tremolinas left in the January, so he hasn't actually got to worry about getting a new club. He's already got one, Rennes, in France. Ziegler goes to PSV, Britos to Sassuolo. Janmat to Dynamo Kiev on loan. Kabul to Fenerbahce on loan. Akaka to Midtjylland on loan. And Holebas to Norwich on loan. Is that the Greek left back? That's a strange one. That's a strange one for me, to be honest. No wonder they went down. Some strange managerial decisions there. But hey ho, they are back down. I'm sure they'll bounce back up if they get the right manager in. They've still got a decent squad there. Could probably recoup some bit of money in as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes if we do another year. And the final team, bottom of the division, West Ham. We put Kevin Nolan in here over Joe Cole and Frank Lampard. Is he still there? Nope, it's Nuno Espirito Santo, the Wolves manager currently, of course. So, they've had okay. So we've seen that. Oh my god. Okay, so Kevin Nolan comes in. He lasts 152 days, 1 game won, 4 games drawn, 9 games lost. So unsurprisingly, he's sacked. Pellegrini must have been the assistant. He comes in for 2 weeks again, caretaker. 1 drawn, 2 lost, no wins. So unsurprisingly, didn't get the job. They then gave it to Sam Allardyce. Okay, so Spirit. Okay, that makes so 10th of December. He comes in and he lasts 155 days, 3 days more than Kevin Nolan. He won 0 as well. No, he won 6, drew 2, lost 15. So then he's of course sacked, and Espirito Santo is tasked with the job of getting them back promoted next season. So we looked at the jobs, we looked at the transfers, looked at the league standings. What we'll do, we'll have a look at the cups now. I can put my notes to the side because I pretty much know where we're going with this. So the FA Cup is won by Everton on penalties, beating Bournemouth after a 0-0 draw. Harry Kane top goal scorer in the competition ahead of Marcus Rashford. Not too much else to say there particularly. Past winners Everton, Chelsea, yeah. Then we've got the Carabao Cup. Man United beating Liverpool 1-0 in the final. Don't know who. Luke Shaw getting the goal in 26 minutes. Okay. Playing a match David De Gea, so perhaps maybe not completely deserved. And then the Charity Shield, I think we saw was probably Chelsea. Man City beat Chelsea. Chelsea beat Man City, after a 2-2 draw in 2-2 draw. So what happened in that game? Morata and Pedro, Mahrez and Bernardo Silva. Who's the Laporte's the guilty party, missing the penalty. 5-4 on penalties. Okay, So Chelsea win that. So they win two. I think that was 2 cups this season. We know that one. I think one of them we saw earlier was the European Cup, wasn't it? So we'll go for the European Champions Cup. Yeah. So we saw Man United finished. No, in fact. Yeah. So Chelsea get the Champions League by winning the Europa League, don't they? Stages. Last season, we won the final. So Man United beat Inter Milan 2-1. Can we see it? I think we should be able to. Lukaku and Juan Mata with a Rafinha penalty sort of sandwiched in the middle there. So all the goals happening in the first half hour. Not much else happening after that. 2-1 win. That gets them back in next season. I don't think that gives another place to an English club. We'll have a look though. We'll go to stages, current season. We're going to go back a season and final. So Chelsea beat Villarreal. So obviously Europa League gets you. I haven't done the name fix. Obviously, I thought I had again. I did these at work. That I don't have those saves at work. I don't have those files done at work. That would be why. Need to remember to do that. So 2-0. Yeah. So let's go back to the Premier League. So let's see how that does affect competition. So Champions League, Champions League, Champions League, Champions League. Chelsea getting Champions League from winning Europa League, and then Tottenham and Everton. If you go away, that'd be great. Getting Europa League. Now, obviously, Man United also in the Champions League doesn't give what would be a sixth spot in the Champions League. That would be overkill. Should the winners of the Champions League? I mean, they do anyway because they're in the top 4. I mean, I guess if Man United had been outside the top 4, they would have got it. And it would have given 6 spots? I don't actually know. Again, if anyone can let me know in the comments down below how that works. I'm not too sure. See, it's the reality of that ever happening in an English club winning both European competitions is probably a little bit slim. They're both such tough competitions these days, and generally, really, of course. So I think that sort of wraps this episode up here now. If you enjoyed this episode, please do drop a like down below. Drop a sub to the channel if you're new here as well. Got a few more experiments coming. I've got a new long Let's Play series coming up. Possibly carrying on the Arsenal save as well. Still waiting for a bit of feedback on that, whether anyone wants to see that. It's still winding down. I've got, I think, as these are out, I will have just finished the first season, so that'll be what I'm waiting for to hear back on. If you want me to carry on another season, 2-3 seasons with this experiment as well, to see how maybe some of the new promoted clubs get on against the new guard, or if the ones that got relegated can bounce back up. Obviously, we will start seeing some of these managers whittle down. So maybe after a year, a lot of them aren't there, or 2 years, a lot of them aren't there. But it's an option. I've got the files, like I've said, I can always do it. So just let me know. And I guess until the next episode or the next video, I'll see you next time. Take care.